Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome our elected officials, university leadership, our clients, volunteers, supporters, and community partners to the Adelphi New York Statewide Breast Cancer Hotline and Support Program's annual celebration of survivorship. I am Rita Machado, director of the program. The program began in 1980 and continues to be housed in the School of Social Work. 30 years ago, our program held our first celebration of survivorship, honoring the founding volunteers of the hotline. 3 decades later, we are proud to continue that tradition with a panel of women who will share their stories, inspire, and provide hope to the breast cancer community. We are honored to have Katerina Dinas-Raptis, Debra Williams, Lori Fagan, and Senator Siela Bynoe with us tonight. Thank you for your leadership, honesty, and support to the breast cancer community. I would like to thank the staff of the Adelphi Breast Cancer Program. Our licensed social workers provide individual and family counseling, both on-site at Nassau University Medical Center. Just as of this year, we are on-site at Mercy Hospital, as well as in person, by phone, and over Zoom. We continue to hold in-person and virtual educational programs, fundraising events, and recognize the heart and soul of the program, our volunteers. In order to protect our most vulnerable community members, including those in active treatment for breast cancer, all of our support groups continue to be held over Zoom. And then most recently, in an ongoing effort to expand our reach, this summer, we launched our STEP program video series featuring patient profiles and lectures from healthcare professionals across several disciplines. Early detection remains one of the most effective ways to improve health outcomes. So I urge everyone to remember our fall campaign titled Got Checked, Early Detection Saves Lives, and call on you to take charge of your health and remember your annual mammography screening. As always, please reach out if you need help navigating the healthcare system or if you are in need of a mammography referral. There are so many people I would like to thank tonight. My dedicated team. I want to start with Angela, who coordinated tonight's celebration. She's supporting the speakers, working on logistics, and coordinating all the staff for all of the elements you see here tonight. And I really want to thank you because I'm so excited to hear all of your courageous stories. Michelle, Kim, Lois, Sandra, Ryan, Amy, Vanessa, and Gabriella, our newest social work intern, are all involved in various aspects of the program's success. This team is small and mighty, and we wear many, many hats. I truly appreciate your professionalism and commitment. Thank you. To the advisory board, including those of you here tonight, Joan, Lynn, Adie, Ellen, and Debbie, thank you for your expertise, guidance, and contributions to the program. Our volunteers are the heart and soul of our program. Thank you for working all year round to help us with empathy and compassion. A special thank you to our generous sponsors, including our visionary sponsors, Adie and Don Hendler, and the Leviton Foundation. I would also like to give special thanks to Chartwells at Adelphi Dining Services, Digital Graphic Imagery, and Hicks Nurseries, who provided the beautiful centerpieces tonight. Finally, I'd also like to thank all of the businesses who purchased sponsorships and journal ads. Thank you. While we are housed at Adelphi University, our program secures all of our funding in grants from the CDC, New York State, private and family foundations. All year round, we work really diligently to ensure that all of our services are completely free, including tonight's event. There are donation envelopes on the tables, and you can also make an online gift with the QR code. If you're able to make a tax-free contribution to pay it forward, please do so. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the Dean in the School of Social Work, Joanne Corbin. Since joining Adelphi, Dean Corbin has been a trusted supporter of the program, and I'm very excited to welcome her to her third annual celebration of survivorship.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here and great to celebrate with you. Thank you for that warm introduction, Raina. I much appreciate it. It is such a profound honor to be here this afternoon. This is my third year, and each year I start to get a deeper understanding of the power and the impact of this celebration and the narratives and the messages that we'll hear this afternoon. This afternoon, we celebrate the experiences of those living with, through, and beyond the diagnosis of breast cancer. It is a time to recognize the importance of the relationships that have formed and deepened through these journeys, the lessons learned, the sharing of information, and hope that was given and gained. I look forward to hearing the messages of our speakers this afternoon. Today, we also recognize the work of the Adelphi New York statewide breast cancer hotline and support program. As Raina has said, the program had its first post-mastectomy groups here at the School of Social Work in 1980. It's amazing to think about the sustainability over time of this program. The women in the support group, all who have felt extremely isolated when they were diagnosed, found comfort in the sharing of their fears, questions, and experiences among others who were experiencing the same experiences. These group members, along with the staff, the faculty, and interns at Adelphi, developed the Woman-to-Woman hotline. Today, we have the oldest breast cancer hotline in the country, staffed by professionally trained and supervised volunteers. And most of those volunteers are breast cancer survivors. This program educates, supports, empowers, and advocates for breast cancer patients, professionals, and the community. And all of these services are completely free and confidential. That becomes so much more important today, more than ever. These resources are important as still, and this number has not changed since I began making these introductions. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. While most common in women, breast cancer affects individuals of all genders and ages. In 2025, over 316,000 women and nearly 3,000 men will be diagnosed with breast cancer. The best intervention is early detection and treatment. I wish to recognize and thank Raina Machado, the Executive Director of the Adelphi New York Statewide Breast Cancer Hotline and Support Program, and the team of staff members and volunteers that provide these invaluable resources to the individuals, their families, and the larger community. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this afternoon, and I look forward to hearing the messages of these presenters. Thank you.
I would now like to introduce Katerina Raptis, affectionately called Kat. Kat was first diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer in June of 2012. At the time, she was 32 years old and had a 2-year-old son. 9 years later, in June of 2021, Kat faced a second diagnosis of stage 2 breast cancer and underwent treatment. Both times during her treatment included surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, and she has ongoing hormone therapy. Her husband and son continue to be her driving force, and together with her amazing family and friends, continue to be the support system that she leaned on during treatment and beyond. Over a decade ago, our program met Kat and her sister Despina when they initially founded Kat's Ribbon of Hope. We've had the privilege to receive grant funding from the foundation since 2015. I'm so proud to work alongside Kat, and I can't wait to hear her story and for her to share her story with all of you tonight. In addition to being wonderful, she is one of the warmest persons I've ever met, and that includes her family and her lovely family, including her mom that are here tonight. Please welcome Katerina.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Adelphi Breast Cancer Hotline for inviting me to be part of such a meaningful evening. As we celebrate 30 years of this life-changing program, it's truly an honor to stand here amongst such an inspiring group of speakers and with all of you during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Tonight, I want to take you on a journey, my journey, one of fear, resilience, faith, and ultimately hope. Let's go back 2013 when I was 32 years old, working full-time and the proud mom of a beautiful 2-year-old boy. Life was busy, chaotic, in all the best ways. And then one morning in the shower, I felt a lump during a self-examination. What followed changed everything. Biopsies, tests, and then the words that stopped my world. You have breast cancer. I was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer, and within weeks, my life became a whirlwind. I underwent a double mastectomy, reconstruction, and 16 rounds of chemotherapy, including the infamous Red Devil. I was placed on tamoxifen for 10 years and told I'd be monitored for the rest of my life. I was scared and I felt alone. And yet I wasn't. I was surrounded by love, my husband, my parents, my siblings, my son, my extended family, and friends who stepped up in ways I could never have imagined. I've leaned hard on my faith. It became my anchor when everything else felt uncertain. I was incredibly blessed to have an extraordinary medical team at Memorial Sloan Kettering. They weren't just my doctors, and nurses. They were my lifeline. They carried me through the darkest moments. During this time, I couldn't stop thinking about the women who did not have the same resources, support, or care that I did. Every time I walked through the doors at MSK, I was deeply aware of how fortunate I was. I would see other women, some alone, some anxious, some bravely masking their pain, and I'd wonder, where do they go for support? Who helps them through the fear? Who stands beside them in their fight? That thought has never left me. Breast cancer doesn't discriminate, but the access of care does. I was raised by parents who taught us the importance of giving back to our community, so it became my mission to do the same for the women who do not have what I had, for the women who deserved access to medical care. Later that same year, my husband, my sister, and I founded Cat's Ribbon of Hope, a nonprofit dedicated supporting women facing breast cancer by raising awareness, funding life-saving research, and providing direct assistance to those without access to the care they need and deserve. It started small, just a dream fueled by love and the desire to make a difference. But our community believes in our mission, and together we have raised more than $2 million. We've helped fund crucial research. We have funded full-time bilingual social workers through the Adelphi Breast Cancer Hotline. We've stood beside women across New York, providing them with support, sometimes transportation, childcare, financial assistance, and most importantly, the message that you are not alone. I've always believed that every story matters. Every woman deserves a fighting chance. That belief is what drives us. It's why we do what we do. And it brings me so much joy to be able to give back, to help women feel seen, supported, and never alone. But then, life threw me another curveball. In the summer of 2021, exactly 10 years to the day and time of my first diagnosis, I found another lump. Once again, you have breast cancer. This time it was stage 2. I was shocked, numb, terrified. My thoughts were all over the place like a roller coaster I couldn't get off. I thought I had done everything right. I ate clean, I exercised, I went to all my regular checkups, and yet here I was again, facing the same nightmare 10 years ago. Only this time, the fear was even louder than before. But I had no choice. I went into warrior mode because sometimes, or honestly, most of the time, that's the only option we have. Twice diagnosed, twice I fought. 12 rounds of chemotherapy, multiple surgeries, 12 weeks of radiation, another year of my life and my mindset being tested and transformed. And in the middle of that, I trained for the New York City Half Marathon. I needed it. It's what kept me moving forward, something that reminded me I was still strong, still capable, and still alive. Over the years, I've learned that life is full of trials and tribulations, and thankfully, triumphs. I've learned to cherish each day. I've learned that faith, family, and purpose can carry you through anything. My mother calls me her petaluda. That means butterfly. It taught me strength and faith from an early age. My father, who sadly we lost this past winter, taught me joy, gratitude, and the importance of living life fully, smiling a lot and laughing a lot. My late mother-in-law and uncle reminded me not to sweat the small stuff and to appreciate good health above all else. They and my entire family have shaped me who I am today. Their love and lessons have been my foundation. My faith in God is strong. Without it, I'd be really lost. It's what fuels me to be the best version of myself, lead by example, to raise my son with hope, to give back, and to use my story as a source of strength for others. Through Cat's Ribbon of Hope, I've become an even more passionate advocate for health, fitness, and prevention. I believe strongly in listening to your body, believing in your own advocate, and pushing for early testing. Do not be afraid of results. Be afraid of really finding out too late. You only get one life. I remind myself that every day. And while we can't control everything, we can control how we show up for ourselves and for each other. To all my fellow survivors and to those who are currently in the fight, please hear me when I say you are not alone. Behind your smile may be fear, uncertainty, exhaustion. I felt all of it, but I promise you there is strength within you that you haven't even discovered yet. I have learned that life is not a timeline for getting what you want and when you want it. There's no single prescribed way of healing. Healing is learning to coexist with your illness and moving forward. It's about loving the life you have and loving those all around you. It is about having gratitude. It is about embracing your imperfections and your own story and your scars, and just a reminder that you are so beautiful and unstoppable. With every step of this journey, the blessings have revealed themselves. The lives we have touched, the women we've supported, the awareness we've raised, it all matters. And it keeps me going, especially on the hardest days when the medications take their toll and the testing. As I reflect on my journey and all we've accomplished with the Cat's Ribbon of Hope team, I'm especially proud of our collaborations with incredible institutions, Memorial Sloan Kettering, Weill Cornell, and the Feinstein Institute. Together, we are supporting groundbreaking research that one day will bring us closer to a cure. But even more personal to me is through our partnership with Adelphi Breast Cancer Hotline and Support Program, with our bilingual social workers who have supported over 2,400 women from medically undeserved communities, offering navigation, counseling, emergency aid, and emotional support from diagnosis onward. I am so proud to say that through our collaboration, we have gifted the program close to $850,000. This helped to provide these vital services to women who need it most. I believe with every fiber of my being, we'll be able to help more women and contribute to more enhancements to research. That would be a dream come true. Tonight, as I prepare to celebrate my 46th birthday tomorrow, I celebrate life. I thank God for blessing me with another year around the sun, a healthy year, for the strength to stand here with you tonight, for the amazing people in my life, for the community that surrounds me, and for the opportunity to turn pain into purpose. This foundation, this community, is one of my proudest accomplishments. right alongside my pride and joy, my beautiful son, and my beloved husband, who's all the way in the back. It's because of all of you that I remain resilient, committed, fight. Let's keep moving. Let's keep going. Let's keep dreaming. Let's keep spreading hope together, because one day we will see a world without breast cancer. And wouldn't that be something? Lastly, if you feel moved to support our mission, I welcome you to visit Cat's Ribbon of Hope online. Every dollar makes a difference for a woman facing one of the hardest battles of her life. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your fight with us, Kat. And happy birthday in advance. I would now like to introduce our second panelist, Debra Williams. Debra Williams was diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer last year. She underwent treatment and was supported by her family at Mount Sinai, as well as her immediate family, friends, caregivers, and a very special social worker that I know very well, Miss Angela Papalia from the Adelphi Breast Cancer Program. With her faith and support network, Debra was able to complete her treatment and is now able to inspire others with her journey. Thank you for your support to the community. Please welcome Debra.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Debra Williams. I retired in December 20th, 23. My plans was to continue traveling the world and assist my son raising my grandson and being a substitute teacher at Brooklyn College Academy. But one day I received a life-altering call, and I heard a still voice say unto me, "This sickness is not unto death, but that I might get glory." That was last year in June 2024. I was diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer. I can remember the nurse told me that I needed to go see a specialist, an oncologist, and a surgeon. She began to console me, saying she was sorry and had so much sympathy as she was telling me what I needed to do. I can remember saying to myself, well, how will I tell my children and my family? That's when my life has changed. Let's rewind the clock. The first year I retired, I found out that my hearing had declined in both ears, and I was walking around with hearing aids, and I thought that was bad. But a year later, I was diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer. Cancer which changed my life and the people attached to me. Now I have to adapt to my new norm. But the funny part is, I used to say I wanted to be an interpreter, but not at this course. As a young girl, I learned sign language because my sister Sandy used to communicate with her friends, and they didn't want me to know what they were talking about. So I learned it, and I said I wanted to be able to communicate with people nonverbal. I was blessed to help deaf and hearing impaired students who came to my job at Brooklyn College who needed help with directing them and getting them to the Office of Disability. I always knew that I would be a motivated speaker, but not on this type of platform. I remember a scripture, Jeremiah 29:11, which reads, "For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, said the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." And in the modern version, it means plans I have for you. So God had a plan. Most of us know that October is the month of breast cancer awareness. Breast cancer awareness is more than just wearing pink. It's about how early detection can save life, empowering individuals, men and women, and no one should face it alone. We should do self-examinations, annual mammograms, and follow-ups, and pay attention to your body's signals. One day I noticed a lump in my left breast, and I was having excruciating pain in my right breast, which caused me to go get checked out, which in my right breast, I had 2 masses, which was benign. But breast cancer is not just a diagnosis. It can change your life forever. Once you are diagnosed, the first thing you should do is establish a support team. If I can be transparent, the diagnosis left me numb. I cried. I was in a dark place, wanting to run out into the streets on Merrick Road. Lots of emotions, but thank God for support. My nurse, Kathy, who sits back there, Dr. Thacker, Dr. Hortle, and the entire medical staff at Mount Sinai were amazing. My social worker, Angela, the Adelphi breast cancer program, who was able to assist me with emotional support and informal support and financial support. To my family and my friends, for all the love that was shown to me. And to my pastor for all the prayers. It was through their support and prayers I was able to overcome the pain, the hurt, and embarrassment of the diagnosis, triple negative breast cancer. Oftentimes, when we hear the word cancer, people automatically think of a death sentence. But I stand here today as a survivor, and I'm not going to give up or give in. There is hope. And before I take my seat, I just want you to know that pink is more than just a pretty color. It's really my favorite color, but it represents hope. And when I think of hope, H is for help. And every one of you that are sitting here today will need some type of help, especially on this journey called life. O is for the obstacles, the ones that we overcome. P is for the pain, the process, and the purpose of me standing here this evening, pushing through every obstacle and treatment with grace. Enduring to the end of every chemotherapy session, surgery, and radiation and treatment. Pink is power. Cancer changed my life, but it didn't take my life. And I just want to say that I'm so forever grateful. I will be celebrating my birthday, my 60th birthday, next month. And God saw fit to allow me to be here today. Last year, this time in October, I cried the whole month of October. Everywhere I went, it was pink, 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 breast cancer, breast cancer. And I cried and I cried. So when I reflect back today, where God has allowed me to stand here, the tears that I have are not tears of sadness, but the tears of joy. And I'm forever grateful to my social worker because when she called me and asked me to do it, I was with my aunt who was in hospice, who passed away. And she said, I think you would be a good candidate. She said, but no pressure. But then she gave me the date, which is October 16th, which was my parents' wedding anniversary, and both of them are deceased. So when she said the date, I knew it was okay. So I'm forever grateful just for the opportunity to share my story. And I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deborah. I think if there's one thing of the many things that I've learned from all of you is that we really have to celebrate the milestones. So happy birthday in advance as well. I would now like to introduce Lori Fagan. Lori Fagan was diagnosed with stage 2 ductal carcinoma of breast cancer in 2012. She completed treatment for her breast cancer with the support of her family, friends, and church. While she's very grateful for her community, at the time she felt very isolated during her treatment. And now recently, for the past 3 years, Lori has been a very active volunteer with our program. She provides support to callers on the hotline. We often see her in the office on Tuesdays for her afternoon shift. She has assisted us with fundraising events and even traveled to Albany with us, which we do in one very long day, to meet with elected officials regarding the program. Lori is a committed and very giving volunteer with the program. Please welcome Lori.
You know, last week on Friday, on Jimmy Fallon, Taylor Swift was on. And I'm not really a Swiftie, but I really watched just because I wanted to see the ring. But the thing is, after the whole big Taylor Megillah, Terry Russell came out. And I felt so bad for her because she came after Taylor Swift. You see where I'm going here. Good afternoon to all my survivors, friends, and honored guests. By all accounts, I was living a charmed life. Wonderful childhood with 2 loving parents, a wonderful neighborhood with lots of kids, playing outside, riding bikes, not a care in the world. Teenage years of friends in school, cheerleading, football games, parties, boyfriends, proms. Then college, first in my whole extended family to graduate. Job on Wall Street, hated it every day. Then, because I don't mess around, I met my husband, I got engaged, got married, bought a house, and got pregnant in one whirlwind of a year. 2 other children followed shortly thereafter, and I went back to school to get a teaching degree. Taught 5th grade for 10 years at a private school, and I loved it. Even went on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And I won a respectable amount of money to keep me from looking like an idiot. Then I ran a Christian preschool that brought me laughs and joy every day. I had it all. A loving husband, 3 great kids, a great relationship with God, a beautiful home, many friends, and a job I loved. What more can a girl ask for? And then it hit the fan. I felt it myself just before Christmas in 2011. Didn't feel like a lump, just felt odd. I went to my GYN for my annual just before Christmas, and he missed it. When I showed him what I was concerned about, he said it felt like a gland, but he was ordering a sonogram in addition to my regular mammogram. Both were scheduled in January of 2012. I should tell you right here that I am the world's biggest hypochondriac. A hangnail, I think I am dying. Many times over the years, I've gone to a doctor and expected the worst, and it turned out to be nothing. But on January 10th, 2012, on my way for that mammogram and sonogram, I knew in my heart it was something very serious. The mammogram missed it, but I watched it come right up on the screen in the sonogram. Then the words no one wants to hear. You have a mass and you need to see a surgeon. What happened next is a little blurry. My GYN was called and I immediately went to see him. I was hysterical. He made calls and got me into a great surgeon. The ball was rolling. I called my husband. Don't even know how I drove home. My husband met me in the driveway, and I fell apart. So much going through my head. I wasn't going to see my kids get married. I wasn't going to meet grandchildren. My husband was going to remarry a supermodel. No, that wasn't going to happen. And I was going to die. That's it. I'm done. It was so hard to tell my kids. I called my oldest, Rob, at college, told him what was going on, and he asked the question, "But you're going to be okay, right, Mom?" I really didn't know what to say. I didn't know the answer, but the mom mode kicks in, and you tell them what they need to hear in the moment. Yeah, I'm going to be fine. Then I sat the other two kids down. My middle child, Eric, happened to be home from college and had his tonsils out the day before I was diagnosed. And my youngest, Emily, was a senior in high school. I explained to them that I had breast cancer and I was going to need surgery, but it would be okay. At that point, I looked at my son and I noticed he was holding in a lap. I asked him what was so funny, and he said, "I don't know, Mom, you just said breast." Then I turned to my daughter and she asked, "So you're going to be okay, right, Mom?" And I said, "I'm going to be fine." And she said, "Well, that's good because we have a real problem. My prom dress came today and it doesn't fit." Now, to anybody listening, these reactions sound incredibly insensitive, but in reality, they were what I needed to hear. In that moment, I realized life goes on. Through the good and the bad, life carries us on, and you either sit and wallow in self-pity, or you pull yourself together and you move along with it. Life doesn't pause when our hearts are heavy, our minds are fractured, or our spirits feel like they are unraveling. It keeps moving, demanding that we move with it. The world doesn't wait even when we want it to, and when we need it to. Most of the time, survival isn't glamorous or inspiring. It's wearing a mask of strength when you're falling apart inside. It's showing up when all you want to do is retreat. It's choosing to move forward even when your heart begs for rest. And so I decided to be a fighter and lean on my faith. And so it began. First, a lumpectomy. Was told by my surgeon, probably only need to do radiation. Well, surprise, surprise. Turned out I was also a candidate for chemotherapy. Chemo was grueling, 8 treatments in all, and it was tough. But I forced myself to get up every day, take a shower, get dressed, do my hair, what little there was of it, put on makeup and make the bed. Not gonna lie, some days I made the bed and I climbed back in. I did nothing but sleep and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. Then 30 days of radiation, which was exhausting. But here's the crazy thing. Through it all, I kept encountering angels. I went to dinner with girlfriends from high school that I hadn't seen in 30 years, only to find out that one of them was best friends with my oncologist, an angel. I had to have a port put in for chemo. At the hospital, the nurse who was taking care of me turned out to be the mother of my new neighbors who had moved in only weeks prior, an angel. Even Elton John was an angel to me. I can't tell you the amount of times I got in my car after a treatment and heard "I'm Still Standing" on the radio. Neighbors showed up at the door with food or flowers or just to check up on me, angels. My hairdresser made time for me whenever I needed her and always told me I looked beautiful, even though I knew I didn't. She was an angel. My church family was constantly praying for me, and as a woman of faith, I can't tell you how much that meant. Angels all. Our friends never forgot us, invited us for everything. Angels. My three angels, my kids who never made me feel like the cancer patient, they treated me like mom. And the biggest angel of all, my husband, who walked every step of the journey with me and really lived up to the vow of for better or worse. He's walking his own journey with cancer right now, and I can only hope to be as wonderful for him as he was for me. But through it all, something was still missing. I had such a fabulous system of support, but I didn't know anyone who had walked the walk of breast cancer. How I wished there was someone I could talk to that had experienced this horrible disease, but there was no one. No one to say, hey, I did it and it was horrible, but it's going to be okay. No one to talk to about the hair loss, the fatigue, the nausea, the weight gain. So while I never felt lonely, I still felt very much alone. At my first meeting with my oncologist, he told me that treatment and recovery would take a year of my life, and he was right. I still remember leaving Sloan Kettering on the last day of my treatment. When we walked out the door, I let out the most guttural sound I have ever heard. Praise God, I did it. I'm a survivor. So fast forward 10 years later, reading Newsday on a Sunday morning, 3-page article on the Adelphi Breast Cancer Support and Hotline. I read the article at least 3 times. This is what I was looking for. For years, I wanted to find a way to help women through the journey so they didn't feel alone like I did when I went through it. At the end of the article was an invitation to become a survivor volunteer. I made the call and I spoke with Nina and was invited to do the training, and a new journey began. I've met so many wonderful survivors, each with their own story, and have made some very deeply valued friendships. I've been a part of many outreach opportunities with different volunteers where we talk to women about early detection and share our stories. I was honored to accompany Nina, Raina, and Ryan to the Capitol in Albany this year to advocate for funding for this amazing program at Adelphi. I have to admit that I was very nervous about the Albany trip. You guys probably didn't know that, but I was. I was so intimidated that I almost canceled. I hoped for a snowstorm. What did I have to offer? I could not have been more wrong. The day was amazing and informative. Everyone we met was interested in hearing my story. It was a day I will never forget. Last October, I was part of a group from Adelphi who went to the Today Show to spread breast cancer awareness. And in that same month, I was honored to attend Kat's Ribbon of Hope fundraiser, where I was blown away by the drive and resilience of Kat. She's such an inspiration. I have been to many volunteer meetings where we made floral bouquets and painted tall posters while sharing our stories with one another. And every year we're treated to a wonderful holiday dinner. Being a part of this organization is like being with extended family, and every event is a bonding experience. But the most rewarding part of being a volunteer is the ability to talk to someone on the hotline. The opportunity to speak to, encourage, and give hope to someone who feels hopeless is what this is all about. I wish I knew of this program 13 years ago when I was frightened to my core and didn't have anyone to talk to. It would have made such a difference. I promised myself I wouldn't do this. I need to say a word about the amazing staff of the program. I've never in all my years met a group of such unbelievably dedicated women and men. Raina, Angela, Lois, Sandra, Kim, Michelle, Vanessa, Amy, Gabriella. They all work tirelessly to make this program what it is. A place for women and men diagnosed with breast cancer to have a sounding board and a safe place to land. While they provide resources and support, they instill a sense of compassion and hope to all they encounter. And while our illustrious leader, Nina, has moved on to new challenges, I'm sure I speak for all of us at the center when I say that your guidance, compassion, and concern for all of us volunteers never went unnoticed, and we are very grateful. We miss you, but you left us well-trained and in good hands. As an aside, I specifically wanted to address all the volunteers that are here today. I highly encourage you to do your hotline shift from the volunteer office. I try to come in for my shift as often as my schedule allows. It's such a rewarding experience. When I come in for my shift, I am greeted like I am a queen. Sometimes they even feed me donuts or home-baked goods, but I'm made to feel like a member of the team, and I so appreciate them for that. Many times I spend my time there doing small tasks, mailing, organizing the materials room, packing the suitcases for outreach, and according to Angela, I am a master at the paper shredder. All while waiting for the phone to ring. Sometimes we all just talk like we've been friends for years, and I always leave with a warm and full heart. The feeling is indescribable. So that's my story. Breast cancer is an ugly, vile, horrible disease. I'd like to add these words from my pastor's sermon this past Sunday, and they are actually words from Ernest Hemingway, but they're so apropos here. And yet, as survivors, we endure. Somewhere in the depth of our pain, we find strength we didn't know we possessed. We learn to hold space for ourselves, to be the comfort we crave, to whisper words of hope when no one else does. Over time, we realize that resilience isn't loud or grandiose. It's a quiet defiance, a refusal to let life's weight crush us entirely. Yes, it's messy. Yes, it's exhausting. And yes, there are days when it feels almost impossible to take another step. But even then, we move forward. Each tiny step is proof of our resilience, a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we're still fighting, still refusing to give up. That fight, that courage is the quiet miracle of survival. That, my friends, is the essence of being a breast cancer survivor. And for me, I will always continue to fight the good fight and look for angels along the way. God bless you all, and thank you.
I am not as witty as Lori. But thank you so much for your honesty and your strength. I would now like to introduce our fourth speaker, Senator Siela Bynoe. Senator Siela Bynoe was diagnosed with breast cancer 22 years ago. At the time, she was 39 years old and on a family trip in St. Kitts. She returned to Long Island for treatment while completing graduate school and working full-time. Throughout her treatment complications, she relied on family, friends, and colleagues for support. In the years since, she has dedicated her life to public service. Our program initially met Siela Bynoe when she was an assembly member, and we've partnered with her on events over the years with the mobile mammography screening unit. I remember back in 2017, she created a beautiful bra for our beloved Creative Cups fundraiser. Today, she serves as New York State Senator and continues to be a champion for our program and the community. Senator Bynoe, we are honored to have you share your story today. Please welcome Senator Bynoe.
Thank you, Raina. And thank you, Adelphi, New York statewide call center. Raina, I'm gonna just fix one thing because you made me older than I am. We gotta fix that. So I was indeed on a family trip in 2003, but I was 34, not 39. But in any event, that was, yeah, a trip. It was a trip. It was a trip that started out like many trips for me. See, I am a Caribbean woman to the bone. So I believe in carnival and I believe in party. And I was there in all my festive regalia with the feathers and everything else. And we were celebrating my birthday along with my mother's birthday. See, I was my mother's gift. I was born on her birthday. And so we took this trip and it was there that, like the other women, I felt alone. And it was there that I knew it was likely or could be breast cancer because I had witnessed a friend years before me go through a similar situation at the same age that I was at the time. And so I quietly left the trip without telling anyone and came back home to New York and approached that situation like I would a project or a party. See, I was a party promoter. And so I went and I wrote out my list, everything I needed to do, everyone I needed to speak to. And I went to the doctors and they said, oh, it's likely nothing. You're a young woman. It's not likely going to be breast cancer. And I said, doctor, we're going to do the full workup. I need the full workup. So we did the workup and I got the call. And he said, you know, it's breast cancer. And we're going to need to do some more testing to determine next steps. And so I went and sought an opinion from a surgeon, 2 opinions from an oncologist, and I settled on an oncologist and a surgeon. And the surgeon said to me, you know, it's October when you were diagnosed along with many other women. So it's not likely you'll have your surgery until sometime in January, or maybe even as late as February, given the caseload. And I said, oh, no, 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 no. This will be done before Christmas. So I took it upon myself to engage the doctors directly, engage their schedulers directly, and told them this has to be done as soon as possible. And so I went through a process. Yes, you have to advocate for yourself. So I went through a process of Thanksgiving. I think the day after Thanksgiving, I had a doctor come in just to read my film so that I could, from the MRI, so I could move forward for the surgery. And on December 5th, on a horrific day where we had a blizzard, I had my surgery. And I felt like a survivor on that day. I knew that if I could make it through all those hurdles to have that surgery, that God was with me. See, Sister Williams, Jeremiah 29:11 was also my guiding scripture. I knew that God had a plan not to harm me, but to prosper me. And I knew that this party girl had to start living a purpose-driven life. And it was then that I knew that I needed to dedicate my time to service, further service to my community. But just to make sure that it was amplified, God sent angels. God sent angels in the form of 4 coworkers, 4 staffers in that regard. I was management and they were union members. And I needed them because when I was being treated, you know, they say 1 in 1 million people will have this severe reaction. So I was that 1 in 1 million person. And I went into anaphylactic shock from the chemotherapy. And as a result, they had to use a combination of drugs that they ordinarily wouldn't. And that sent me into neutropenia. And I became neutropenic, and that meant that my white blood cells were hardly in existence, so I couldn't fight any infections. And so I got hospitalized for a short period of time. See, the thing is, I had just started that job. So while I was resolute to work and be treated, it wasn't just because I didn't want to succumb to the disease or the idea that I was that vulnerable. It was because also I didn't have the time on the books. But those 4 women, when I became hospitalized, thought it not robbery to give me their personal time off so that I could complete my treatment. So these perfect strangers became my angels. And I was able to complete the next 4 rounds of chemotherapy. And upon completing those rounds, I started reading this book, Purpose Driven Life. And that book said, "To whom much is given, much is required." So during the radiation piece of my therapy, I joined 4 girlfriends, and we decided we were going to raise money. We were going to raise money for the purpose of helping children who were where their parents had cancer. And so what did we do? We had a party, because that's me, right? We had a party for a purpose was the name of it. And we actually started matchmaking and doing bachelor and bachelorette auctions. And we had a couple of couples that actually got married from that. But the long story short was we were able to make sure that children whose parents were undergoing cancer treatments were able to go to school and have a scholarship. And so we helped put kids through school. But it was there that I realized I wanted my master's in public administration. I wanted to go back and do more. And so when I finished my master's, I went on to serve the Westbury School Board, then to the Nassau County Legislature. And it was there that I authored a bill because I realized that environmental impacts play a large role in why so many women on Long Island get diagnosed with breast cancer. And there was no law on the books here in Nassau County to require that the water samples from each water provider was studied for any type of chemical that's in there that's cancer causing. So now Nassau County compiles that study for the purpose of ensuring that we know what's in our water and that we can eradicate it. Additionally, as a county legislator, I took the Mama Van around town into underserved communities to make sure that women, no matter whether you had insurance or you were underinsured, you could have a mammography. And just as late as Tuesday, we had the mammogram in our van in Westbury, and the week before that in Rockville Center. We want to make sure that women have access to life-saving testing. Additionally, when I got to the state Senate, and I too was nervous and petrified going up to Albany. But when I went there, I said, the first thing I want to do is introduce a bill that could make sure that every woman who's connected to a first-generation cancer survivor or someone who has been diagnosed with cancer can have life-saving testing, no matter whether they would have been eligible or not. The law now will be in New York that if you have a family member who had cancer, you can get life-saving testing, no matter your age or your insurance. So we want to make sure that our laws reflect the needs here in Nassau County. And it was my privilege to make sure that the first request that I put in was to continue the funding here for the Adelphi or New York statewide call center to make sure that we have these voices, the compassionate voices of all of our volunteers to support all the women and men who will be diagnosed into the future and support them. And so it's my honor to be here. It is my honor to be in service to this community. And more importantly, it is my honor to say that on Tuesday, I too will celebrate another birthday. So the work of this organization and its volunteers, it's not lost on me. It is not in vain. It is really the lifeline for all that are diagnosed and are facing these challenges. So may God keep you and may God bless you and may God keep your coffers flush with funds so you can continue your work. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Bynoe, for sharing your experience, which, by the way, she had no speech written down. The first time I've seen that. But your advocacy efforts are unparalleled, so thank you so much, and thank you for your support of the program. On behalf of the program, I hope for our 4 panelists, please accept these flowers as a token of our appreciation. Thank you all for sharing your deeply personal and inspirational stories and reminding everyone that you are not alone. I'm now going to ask you all to participate in one of my favorite traditions of this program. Volunteers, can you please stand? Please stand and remain standing. Now, anyone who is a breast cancer survivor, please stand and remain standing. To those of you who are in active treatment, please stand and remain standing. My breast cancer warriors, please stand. Thrivers. If you're a caregiver for someone who's battling breast cancer, please stand. If you have lost someone to breast cancer, please stand. If you have been impacted by breast cancer in any way, please stand. You can please sit. Thank you. I think it's a beautiful illustration that everyone here tonight knows how important it is to have a support system and how even though some of us are perfect strangers, we're all connected. As we look beyond October and Breast Cancer Awareness Month, please remember that you are not alone. If you need to talk, please call the hotline at 1-800-877-8077. Lori's waiting for your call. You can also visit our website and register for our free support groups, educational forums, book club, and other events. Thank you all again for joining us. Good night.